Hello again and welcome to the Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we start today's video I want to say a huge thank you to Aaron Price for sending in these pictures of his very cool Ultramarine Scouts. Very crisp paint scheme, and Aaron pointed out a really nice detail, which is his Scouts have only got silver chest aquillas or sort of metallic chest aquillas in comparison to the rest of his Ultramarines, which have gold, and that's because they're Scouts. They haven't yet sort of earned their golden chest aquillas. Nice little detail. Love that kind of stuff in an army. Thank you, Aaron, very much for sending in these pictures. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want to send in to me, then please post them on my Facebook page. There will be a link down in the description below. So, without further ado, let's get into today's video. And what we're going to talk about today is we're going to look at what it's like coming from an army like Space Marines, a more elite army, to the Imperial Guard. So you've decided to collect an Imperial Guard army here. Well, there are some things that you should know, because there's a lot of people have this impression of Guard, especially in 8th edition, as they're this all-powerful, overwhelming army that, you know, anyone can use and you'll just win. And what's interesting is that a lot of these people come in and start using Imperial Guard and just losing again and again and again, and they don't get it. They don't understand why. And it's like, this army isn't what everyone said it was. You know, everyone said that in Guard were impossible to beat, yet you seem to be losing lots of your games. Well, and also, I should say, you see when you go to tournament, you'll see lots and lots of Imperial Guard armies, but you'll see plenty of those armies in the mid or lower mid tables, and they're not tearing it up. They're just having the people collecting them are collecting them for fun. But if you're going to play Imperial Guard and you're going to win with Imperial Guard, there are some things you need to know. And what's really interesting is I've sort of relearned these things. I've gained a much stronger appreciation for these aspects of the Imperial Guard by going away, playing an army like Genestealer Cult, and coming back to the Guard. Now, without beating around the bush, what am I talking about? Let's get into this. Number one, we do not have any Death Star units. We do not have any unit which will reliably, even Shadow Swords, will reliably sort of take out their intended target in one go. Okay, and this is something that really hit me hard. I played a game in my Steel Legion the other week, on last Tuesday, and this is after coming off playing 2 months solid of Genestealer Cult practically, and it really struck me. Because with my cult, what happens is I have an aberrant bomb. That aberrant bomb comes in and it just annihilates everything it touches and then dies. I have an acolyte bomb which comes in, annihilates anything I send it at, and then it dies. Guard, that doesn't happen. We don't have one unit which will delete another enemy unit. This is what so many generals base their armies off. Having a unit which will just delete anything that you put it against. And the Guard don't have that. You will not have. You will rarely have a turn, like a turn 1, where you win the game. What you'll tend to find, this is especially true if you're playing Infantry Guard. What you will tend to find is the first turn and the second turn will be quite close, and then the third turn, if you're going to win the game, it will shift in your favour, and the enemy begins to run out of momentum and you're still applying pressure. And then turn 4, turn 5, and most likely turn 6, especially playing ITC, turn 6 is when the enemy crumbles. But it's an attritional game. There is no slam dunk, there is no home run. The Guard don't win like that. Now, obviously, you can build specialist armies where you can build armies that are, that can do that with the Guard. Guard are very flexible. We're talking about balanced forces or just like a hybrid list or a pure infantry list, especially pure infantry. You don't have one of those big turns, and so sometimes it can feel like you've had an underwhelming turn, but you haven't had an underwhelming turn. You've just killed some stuff. And that's fine, because guess what? You're going to kill a similar amount of stuff next turn, and you're going to kill a similar amount of stuff the turn after. So, for example, when I was doing the Steel Legion, my first turn, I was facing against a Death Watch. It was a Death Watch army with a Loyal 32 and a Knight. So, very competitive army. And I hadn't used Steel Legion in ages. I wasn't on my game. It was a little rusty. And I fired all this stuff into the Knight because I thought it's only got a 4 pin run now. It's been nerfed. And my opponent rolled shit hot. He made 16 out of 19. Over the first 2 turns, he made 16 out of 19 4-up saves. Sometimes that just happens. But on the plus side, I killed all his infantry. I killed his Loyal 32, turn 1. Turn 2, I did some damage. Finally got some damage to the Knight. Killed one of his veteran kill teams. Turn 3, and it just sort of... But it got to the end of the game, and unfortunately, I lost by 1 point. It was a close game. We got to turn 5. But we looked back, and my opponent just had like 1 veteran kill team and a Primaris kill team and like a Dreadnought. That's all he had left. And I still had 2 Leman Russes, Manticore, practically all my Sentinels, and 1 of my Sentinels, and 4 or 5 Chimera. So I still had a very, very strong force. My opponent won on the objective game, which is fantastic. That's how you should do it. But what it was is I sort of realised at the game, holy shit, my opponent was sweating like he was on his last legs, and really, I had most of my army left. And that's what it is like with the Guard. You don't have those slam dunk moments. You just attrition your opponent to death. Okay? So that's why a lot of people struggle, because they try and build this super unit. And they're like, yeah. And I see so many people do this. I'm going to take a Guard. I'm going to take a huge blob of conscripts and throw all these buffs on it. And it's like, yeah, it just doesn't do anything, though. It's not how you're meant to do it. An individual Guard squad is never meant to achieve anything. 5, 6 Guard squads, now we're talking, they'll achieve something. 1, 2, they'll barely do anything. They'll just die gloriously. So that's one thing you have to be aware of. You aren't going to have a super unit. Okay? Which leads into the fact that you will need combined arms. Okay? You can't... if you want to run a successful army, you do want a combined arms force. Individually, Guard units are kind of weak, unless you take it to the extreme and go like mass infantry. Mass infantry is the exception that proves the rule. Individually, your units are weak. When brought together, your units are incredibly strong. People complain about Guard orders. Well, I'm sorry, but can you imagine if Guard had aura buffs? You'd be complaining a lot harder then. Orders themselves aren't that great when orders are combined on certain units, and like giving re-rolling ones to wound with veterans with overcharged plasma guns against Marines. You don't really care if plasma guns explode, but you do care that you get those wounds through. It's not really a great example, but it's an example. You have your officers on your own. Your officers, they can't fight. This is a better way of doing it. On your own, your officers can't fight, and they can't shoot. Put your officer with 2 veteran squads with overcharged plasma guns, and suddenly they become fantastic. Your veterans, on the other hand, aren't going to do great if they haven't got any way of avoiding those ones on the overcharged plasma. You put an officer with them and they start working. Both of those units are going to struggle to get into range and shoot stuff or damage stuff if they haven't got long range support or transports. So suddenly you're taking a Chimera or 2, and then you're taking a Leman Russ. And all of these things, and again, but the Chimeras on their own don't provide enough firepower, and the Leman Russ on its own is going to get tagged. So all these things come together a lot more effective. You don't have one unit that can do everything, unless it's the infantry squad. The infantry squad is the exception that proves the rule. You don't have one unit that can do everything. You have lots of units that need to work together to achieve everything. Okay? And the last thing which really struck me is life is cheap in the Guard. Now, this is me. I've been playing Gene Stealer Cult for a while now, and I've been there with my, what I call mass neophytes, and I regularly run 80 to 100 neophytes in my army, and that's considered a lot. That's considered a big horde. And you come back to the Guard, and it's like, pfft, that's nothing. 100 bodies, 80, 100 bodies. That's what I expect to lose in the first turn. So, and it's really interesting. I was reading a Bolter and Chainsword blog earlier today. One of the reasons it inspired me to do this video. And someone who was adding, he sort of started off with, I'm going to add Law 32, and now he's begun, he's got the bug, and he's adding more and more and more, which is nice to see. And he said, I've got 4 infantry squads decked out, I've got a couple of officers, and this isn't even 400 points. Holy shit, how do you guys do this? And it's like, we do, that's not a disadvantage. Yeah, it's a lot of painting to do. It's not a disadvantage though. My God. It's amazing what you can get. Life is cheap in the Guard, and for damn good reason. Because our units, again, individually are just not worth it. Okay, they're just not. But when combined and brought together, they are almost unstoppable. Okay, now, and that's it really. The last thing to say about Guard is Imperial Guard can be tailored to do anything. You want a close combat army, run Catachan, Strachan, Priests, go for it. You want an unstoppable shooting gun line, Cadians with all the orders, all the tanks, all the infantry. You just want an army which is just almost unassailable. You want, in close combat, you want Mordian Iron Guard. Mordian Iron Guard will march up the field, rapid firing everything. If someone tries to countercharge, they're in for a bad time. You just want a pure infantry army. Any regiment can do it. You want a pure tank army, you can have a pure tank army. There's nothing stopping you from running 12 Leman Russes. Maybe apart from points. But there's very little stopping you from running 10, 12 Leman Russes. Nothing else. 3 tank commanders, and as many Leman Russes as you can get after that. Nothing stopping you from doing that. Guard can do it. Easily. So there you go, guys. That's my advice for new players coming into the Guard. Don't expect to have super units. Do expect to buy a lot of units, to paint a lot of units, and make sure you're using combined arms support. Because if you don't, if you don't keep those things in mind, you're gonna get frustrated because you're gonna feel like your army's not killing anything. You're going to lose games because your list isn't going to be properly built, and you're going to give up, and you're going to go away and say Guard's bullshit, and you're not going to understand why people win with them. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If anyone's got any other advice they've got for a new player collecting Guard, or a player coming into the Guard from another army, please put it down in the comments below. Let's get a nice repository of things to be aware of when you are going to start collecting Imperial Guard. Hope you guys enjoy this video, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.